Hey guys, welcome. Now we're going to be going over step 4 for the healing process, which is refocusing attention, our focus, and our energy. So again, we need to know the definitions of these things to start to be able to understand. You got to have a solid ground of what you're talking about to be able to comprehend and move forward. Otherwise, you're just wishy-washy and you're susceptible to any bullshit that anybody throws at you. So we need to know what attention is. Okay? Attention is the regarding of someone or something as important. Okay? The regarding of someone or something as important. The action of dealing with or taking special care of someone or something. The action of dealing with or taking special care of someone or something. I see attention as the only thing of value in this world. No gold, no silver, no material possessions, no nothing, no money, none of that means a damn thing. The only thing we have of value in this world is our attention. When you're in school, think about this, they say pay attention. When you're anywhere in a classroom, they're like, class, pay attention, right? They want you to pay special care to someone or something as if that person is important. Okay, so we need to take that attention, and we've been focusing everywhere else. We need to focus it on us. What is focus? The center of interest or activity. Okay, so the focus means the center of interest or activity. So we're going to take that focus, where we've been centering our interest and activity, right? Because where our focus is, that's where our attention goes, right? So we're going to focus that energy from outside of us back onto us for our healing. That's the only way your healing's going to be done. Energy. We got to have energy, right? You have to have that energy to be able to do that. And where you put your focus and attention and time into, that's where your energy's going. What is energy? The strength and vitality required for sustained physical or mental activity. The ability to do work. Okay, so energy is the strength and vitality required for sustained physical or mental activity. And that's what this whole healing process is. We need to have that sustained physical or mental capability to be able to focus on ourselves and heal ourselves physically, mentally, emotionally, and take care of all of our issues. It's all about our issues. And the ability to do work. So we have to have the ability to be able to do these things. And we're not going to have that energy to focus our attention, right? Focus the center of our interest or activity, concentrate on and put our attention on ourselves, our issues, if we are bombarding ourselves with and surrounding ourselves with and distracting ourselves with all of our addictions. We went over this board in the last video. It's the same exact board. I didn't do anything to it. This is the same exact board as the last one. Now, the last video we were talking about detaching from the material world, detaching from all these groups, detaching from all of these things. And the reason why is because all of these things take our attention. What is attention? The regarding of someone or something as important. The action of dealing with or taking special care of someone or something. So if you're constantly in entertainment mode, if you're going to work, okay, most of us are giving our attention, our focus, and our energy to work for most of the day. We do that because we have the excuse that we need to have a house, we need to have a car, we need to have all these things, we need to have 400 TV channels, we need to have a brand new $1,000 phone, we need to have, be able to go out and hang out with friends, we need to be able to keep up with the Joneses, we need to be able, so we use these things, these social constructs, which again It's all programming. It's all meant to keep us as a mind slave. It's all meant to keep us contained. It's all meant to give us this limited free will. Well, I'll tell you what, you can choose, but you have to choose what job you want. It's not an option not to have a job. You can choose, but you got to choose which insurance carrier you're going to have. It's not an option to have an insurance carrier. You can choose, but you're going to have to choose, right? So they're telling us, yeah, you have free will, but here's your only options that we're going to allow you to choose from within this set of parameters when everything should be available to us, right? So, again, smoking, alcohol, weed, drugs, if you are keeping yourself in an altered state, again, that's all distraction from your problems. You're taking your attention, focus, and energy and putting it into being twisted, and that way you don't have to deal with your shit. The ego is driving this avatar in the ground. It's driving you into the ground. It's going to have as much fun and dopamine hits as it can on its way out. And, so it will ruin you with these things, including sex and porn. If you're giving all your time and attention and energy and focus to women to acquire sex and, to sleep around and to please yourself physically in that manner, not only is it unhealthy physically, but it's also, an addiction that's taking a lot of time and attention and energy and focus away from yourself and your healing. And the only way this healing is going to work is with your attention centered on yourself. You can't have your attention out here on eating animal flesh, processed foods, cooked foods, and fast food and being a glutton, because that's going to take up most of your day. Other than working and coming home and keeping yourself entertained, distracted with breads and circuses and sports and all that bullshit, animal flesh, processed food, cooked foods, and fast foods are, again, the processed foods, cooked foods, fast foods is dead nutrition. There's nothing in it for you, does anything for you. And if you're consuming animal flesh, most people are not eating raw meats. They're cooking it. So, again, anything that's cooked takes all the nutrition out of it. Your body can't even utilize that anyways. The only reason your body even is lacking in these vitamins and nutrients is because you have ingested these things in the first place, which tore the outer covering off the cell and allowed the cell to leak these things out. So we're trying to supplement and put these things back into the cell, which are completely inferior to what the natural way of the cell making these nutrients on its own. And all we literally have to do is just fast and get off these fucking toxins and quit ingesting poisons. And again, if we were giving ourselves the proper attention, focus, and energy and taking care of ourselves, again, attention is the regarding of someone or something as important. If we regarded ourselves as someone or something that was, or as someone that was important, we would not be poisoning ourselves intentionally when we know these things are poison. It's beyond a shadow of a doubt that the body reacts to all these foods, these so-called fake foods, as a toxin. It's unnatural. Again, politics, news, global events, which all takes faith and belief. Politics, news, global events, that will eat up all your attention, focus, and energy. You see these people get all worked up about these wars and all of these different countries, and they're taking sides, and they're like, we gotta do this, we gotta. Or, they get all worked up about the fucking border, and they're like, we gotta defend our country, ah! And, it's all meant, guys, the whole purpose of the Matrix is to take your attention, focus, and energy. The attention is the only currency you have in this world that's worth anything, and the Matrix is here to steal it. They know that is their job. That is their number one priority, is to take your attention. The Matrix is the system itself, the slavery system, because the only way to be enslaved, if you have the choice of being in here, right? If you have the choice of being in this box or outside of this box, if you're putting your attention in all these things, you can't even get on the first step of recognizing and accepting what all these things are. You're refusing to face that things are abuse, that all this is abusive, because you have cognitive dissonance, and you have to double down and support your Stockholm syndrome and justify your abusers and the things that are poisonous and toxic to you, your addictions, your habits. And therefore you're not taking that at time. You're not regarding yourself as something as important. You are putting yourself lower than all of these things. You are making these your priority. You are making these your focus. Again, focus is the center of interest or activity and paying particular attention to. You are focused on these things. You cannot participate in these things while giving proper attention and regarding yourself as important. It is absolutely impossible, just like we talked about yesterday with what a human is. It's either, an apex predator, or it's an empathic light being, soul that's occupying this extremely advanced biological avatar. You can't have both. It's impossible. You can't. You just can't do that. They don't go together. Like oil and water, right? Exercising for ego. Again, if you're exercising for ego, you're doing it, to impress people, to be accepted, to be propped up, for people to put you in regard. You're not holding yourself as something special. You're not enough yet. You have to get better. You have to get bigger. You have to get leaner. You have to get more ripped. You have to be able to do heavier weights. You have to be able to do more reps. You've got to have more girls checking you out. You know what I mean? So exercising for ego, you can see how that, and how many hours will somebody spend at a fucking gym doing that stupid shit. And then, of course, they'll go shopping. They'll go shopping to be able to find the clothes that fit them perfectly and make their muscles pop and make them look sexy and all that horse shit. Voluntarily being around toxic family and friends. Again, if you're giving, the toxic family and friends will suck you dry. Just like your workplace environment. Toxic family and friends will suck you dry. They will take every ounce of energy from you and refocus your attention from yourself and the things that you need to take care of, and they will fucking turn that shit around. And because most of our families are narcissistic due to being abused and traumatized, and it's a constant battle for attention and for pity and woe is me games and all of that shit. So yeah, that's got to go. Being around toxic family and friends, you got to quit giving your time and attention to those people. You're just going to be on a merry-go-round of wallowing in your shit with those people. Again, money. That is one of the biggest things is money. That they've mind-slaved us in with. You have to have money. Well, why do you have to have money? Well, Richard, you gotta have money because you gotta have a car and a house and all these belongings, and you gotta have animal flesh to stock up in your fridge and all these processed foods to put in your fridge and electricity to run all your electric items that run your damn cook your food and make it toxic and poisonous, and you know what I mean? It's all justification, guys, and that's where that's why recognizing and accepting is the very first step. Besides, understanding what abuse means, because it's all abuse. Everything we're talking about here is abuse. Anything on this board is abuse to your own self, okay? Which simply means misuse. Shopping, we went over that. Material possessions, house, car, we went over that. Religion, invisible gods, entities. Again, if you're giving the credit to God for, again, I take a sports star, for example. They go out there, they practice, hours and hours every day, 5, 6, 7 days a week. They wrap their whole lives around eating nutritious food and, working out and practicing their moves. And then they get on that court or that field, for 4 hours, once a week for only, about 15 weeks out of the year. And then the other 40 weeks out of the year, they're not even participating. But they spend all this time, right, practicing and getting ready, and then they'll get out there and they'll make a goal and they'll point up at the sky at God, right? Or they'll get down on their knee, and it's like, wow, man, what the fuck are people doing? Like, it's so absolutely retarded and ignorant that you spent all that attention on yourself, but then you're giving all the, to be able to do something by all your practice and all your focus and all your energy to make it a muscle memory type of thing where you can go out there and catch that ball with one hand and in mid stride and keep on running. And yet they point up to God like, to glory to God be the highest. It's like the amount of gaslighting that takes to do that is just ridiculous. And they say, well, no, without God, I want to be here. No, without your fucking parents fucking each other, you want to be here, dumbass. That's how simple these things are. But you got to recognize and accept the ludicrousness of, the things you've been justifying yourself to believe in. And again, belief and faith, having that belief and faith are the first two steps on the slippery slope to slavery, guys. Don't forget that. Groups, you have to get rid of all your groups, right? Again, any kind of group takes your attention, focus, and energy, whether it's their activities or going out and proselytizing for the group. And this can be any kind of group. This can be fucking Girl Scouts. This can be goddamn the Moose Club. This can be, your Rotary Club. This can be your softball team. This can be your church. This can be, anything. Literally anything. The food drive you do, whatever it is, guys, you just got to understand that those things take your attention, focus, and energy. And if we have all these underlying issues and problems and we find ourselves in a mind slave box, why would we give our attention to anything else? What is more pressing than getting out of a mind slave box that we've been contained our whole lives that's keeping us abused and enslaved? What is requiring more attention, our focus, and our energy than taking care of our shit and fixing our problems and saving ourselves? And then knowledge seeking. Again, knowledge seeking is a huge one. If you think you're on a healing journey and all you're doing is researching every fucking thing you can on diet, researching every fucking thing you can on nutrition, researching every fucking thing you can on Tartaria, researching every fucking thing you can on UFOs, researching every fucking thing you can on all these different hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of different rabbit holes that you can get into. Guys, that just completely drains your attention, focus, and energy. This healing process is extremely easy. It is so basic, fundamental, and easy. And that whole knowledge seeking game, the devil is in the details, okay? Just use that for this knowledge seeking to understand what knowledge seeking is. When you go outside yourself for knowledge seeking, the devil is in the details. And these rabbit holes are deep. In any subject you want to get into of knowledge seeking that you think you're going to go out there and find experts and people with answers and not trust in yourself, because once we start giving our time, our attention, focus, and energy into ourselves in every aspect of our lives, we are learning to trust ourselves. We are learning we don't need any of this. We will learn very quickly that all of these things are crutches. We will learn very quickly that we've been using all of these as distraction to keep us completely distracted from what we can actually affect in this life to make true change. We will realize that we do have free will, but we have a very limited free will. Our free will is limited to what we put in our mouth, our eyes, our nose, our ears, and on our skin and in our minds. That is it. That is the only free will you have. Outside of that, anything outside of that, well, I can choose whatever car I want to drive. You can, but you got to work, you got to pay taxes on it, you got to do this with it, you got to do that with it. Well, I can buy whatever house. Yeah, you can, but you're going to have to pay tax on it, you're going to take care of it. Well, I can do this. Yeah, you can, but you're going to have to. Do you see what I'm saying? Everything outside of ourselves and what we are born with is distraction. Everything. And all of these things on this board right here have to do with distraction. Every single one of these things is meant to take your attention, focus, and energy off of yourself and put it on these things. And these things, to be putting your attention, focus, and energy on any of these things, as we pointed out in the last video with the definitions of worship, idolize, and what was the other one? Worship, idolizing, and detaching. Oh, for the whole detachment process, this is all idolization and worship. That's what it is, because idolization and worship is where you're putting your attention on. Okay? And then your attention is the regarding of someone or something as important. What is more important than you? And, if you're going to be like, oh, well, that's selfish, I shouldn't, that's all martyrdom. That all comes from martyrdom, which again stems from the ego, which again is a survival character, a proxy, a stand-in for our true self, our authentic self, our essence, which is our soul that got kicked to the back seat due to the abuse and trauma we suffered as children. And it calls up the ego, creates the ego, and that is our survival character. That is the character, the mask that we put on in public. That is the character. That's why most people can't be alone, because when they're alone and then their attention, focus, and energy goes on themselves. Like, that's why they got to have TVs running in every room, music going constantly. They can never have quiet or solitude. They always have to have some kind of stimulation, because the ego needs that. The ego cannot be alone. The ego cannot sit with itself. The ego does not know how to critically think. It only knows how to react. So it needs that stimulation to bounce off of, to react to, right? Anything else as far as this goes? I think that's it for this one, guys. I mean, I'm keeping it as simple as possible. And remember, they've got us as a mind slave. All of this whole healing journey, guys, is completely out there. Nobody was even considering doing these things. And most people will be like, oh, just tell me all the steps and then I'll do them and everything's going to be easy. No, it's not, because if you've been living 20, 30, 40 years as a mind slave, and then all of a sudden you think you're just going to take your attention, your focus, and energy on yourself and it's all going to work out, it's not. You're going to get trapped. You're going to get tripped up. You're going to get tripped up, and you're going to end up bamboozling yourself. The ego's going to bamboozle you and tell you, it's crazy. You don't have to crush your ego. You need to integrate your ego. You need to make it part of you. You need to crush your ego, because your ego is the mind slave. Your ego is the thing that was created in this box, and you need to reclaim your whole essence, your birthright, your wholeness, which is your soul. And then you got to take care of this avatar. The soul's job is to take care of this avatar, to pay attention to this avatar. It is responsible for this avatar. And just remember, being a mind slave, this is where they contained you with their programming since birth, okay, through abusive and traumatic means, and everything outside of there is not allowed. There's no access, no trespassing, do not go there, do not tread. You must stay in the box, and that's with your thoughts, your emotions, your words, your feelings, your actions, everything. Because if you go outside of that box and you act outside of the social structure or whatever cultural construct in which you live, they will call you an outlaw. They'll call you a rebel. They'll call you crazy. They'll scorn you. They'll mock you. They will shun you from their society, right? Because it's a group, and they rely on the group think, guys, and we got to pull away and get out of that group think, and we have to put the attention back on ourselves. And so remember, guys, take care of yourself, because the group certainly won't.